Maria Alagoa. Maria, and we are off here, number 10 in that central midfield position. You'll see her, and we'll get into all of the starting lineups and all of the players. Maria Alagoa, Portuguese, actually. Plenty of international players on USC, and the Portuguese central midfielder, number 10 there on the ball, pretty immediately making an impact at the start of her USC Trojan career this year. And it's Stanford who control play first. Here's Montoya looking to get that cross off, and it's defended well from the Stanford Cardinal. Ike will go backwards. Jasmine Ike, so versatile. She played in the midfield last season. 11 goals and 12 assists last year. Incredible statistics in just 25 games played, including a 3-goal game versus none other than the California Bears. And she's actually been holding down that center back role this year. And she once again starts in that center back role. Usually starts next to Evans, but Evans away at the U20 World Cup in Costa Rica. Stanford have one player, that's Elise Evans, one of the captains, away at the World Cup. And USC actually with 2 players at the U20 World Cup, one competing with Canada and one competing with Mexico. And now here's Buta. Buta with some space at the top of the box. She fires, and a good job there from the center back of the Trojans to get her foot on it. Mia Buta with a goal versus Washington State just a couple games ago, her first of the season. It was a screamer. She'd actually missed a penalty kick and then just a couple minutes later put one away in the run of play. And already we can see this shaping up to be back and forth battle for possession. Both of these teams play a 4-3-3. So there won't be a lot of extra space on the field. Perhaps the only extra space will be because both teams play with that one holding midfielder and then 2 attacking midfielders. So it'll always be a 2v1 for that one holding midfielder. A lot of space to cover. And now here's USC on their first opportunity, and a good clearance there from the Stanford Cardinal. Montoya on this right wing. Ali Montoya on this right wing alongside Harrison, number 23 at that right back position. And then on the other side of the field, Pagador in that left back role wearing a captain's armband, number 27. Working with Kitahata, number 20, who's on the ball right now. We mentioned her name already quite a few times. She's got those 5 goals, and now streaking through the middle is freshman Charlotte Kohler with the shot and a beautiful save. Gladue in goal for the Trojans. Takes care of it.
Great read by Gladue. That was outstanding for the USC Trojan. I would say, too, Kohler, someone we absolutely will be talking about a lot more in this one. She's had a hot start to her collegiate career here at Stanford. Only other one outside of Kitahata who has scored more than 1 goal already in this season. She's got 2 on the board so far this year in her college career. So we'll expect a lot more from her of what we just saw.
Yeah, she certainly won her playing time. The only game she hasn't started this season was the first game of the season versus USF. Here's the corner in from Mikey, drilled across, cleared but not quite enough. Kohler gets it back out. Ike with a cross, back post. And just a little too far, and the Trojans will clear it out, but Harrison's there to scoop it up. And within these first 5, Stanford Cardinal looking very threatening. Ike going all the way backwards to get that ball. Stanford with no changes to the lineup from their most recent game on Thursday. Here's Thomas, and she won't get there in time. That's good cover from number 8, Courtnall, one of the 2 center backs of USC. And we mentioned no changes to the lineup since St. Mary's. At St. Mary's, though, both Thomas and Emery got their first starts of their season. Number 9, Jaden Thomas up top on the ball right now with a beautiful turn. Trying to get that ball into the box. Here's Montoya with a spin, trying to work it around. And Jaden Thomas has been really impactful off of the bench and really won that start from the minutes that she'd played off of the bench. Mentioned number 9 up there, a goal versus UC Irvine. She was Gatorade Player of the Year in high school for Texas. And now in her freshman season here with the Cardinal.
I think we knew that she'd have a pretty big impact right away. She's one of 3 freshmen who have been their state Gatorade Player of the Year in their career. Thomas, Texas, like you said, Kohler twice in California, and then Smith twice as well in Idaho. So a lot of great talent coming in, as well as some of those veteran leaders for the Stanford team.
Absolutely. It's pretty crazy to say you got 3 or 4 Gatorade Players of the Year, and plenty of other sophomores, juniors, seniors who most likely won that award in their high school days as well. Long ball down the line to Montoya, who chases, and that's scooped up from Colbert, number 3 in that left back position for the Trojans. And of course, we mentioned the other player getting her second start of the season, who got her first versus St. Mary's, is number 15, Emery. That's Ella Emery in the center back role. She'll be playing alongside Ike in that center back position. Cardinal
Another
now
freshman.
looking for the shot. Oh my goodness! Right off the bat, Miyabuta puts it in for the Cardinal.
Stanford wasting no time to get things going offensively. They're wearing the Cardinal unis today. We don't always see those kids here at home, but so far been good luck for them.
Well, Miyabuta seems to have opened up the floodgates on her scoring now. 2 goals in the past 3 games for the midfielder, and forcing USC to immediately go back and conference with each other. I mean, that felt like it was coming. Stanford had been building. Those crosses were looking more and more dangerous. And a beautiful one from that left side. Miyabuta puts it away.
We've talked about before with Stanford this balance of being patiently aggressive or controlled aggression, waiting for the opportune moment. That was well done. And then Kitahara with the assist as well. Add another point for her because it just keeps adding on. She's still leading the team.
Unbelievable. There's a reason this Stanford Cardinal team has earned that number 1 ranking in the country. We mentioned that's the first time the Stanford have been ranked number 1 since they won the national championship in 2019, the most recent time they won. Of course, they've been number 2 since they lost the national championship to FSU last year. We'll try not to bring that up too much. I'm sorry for any of you who that hurt your heart to hear. Trojans now looking to respond. Colbert has space wide. Trojans now and trying to find some kind of opportunity. You can see how quickly the Cardinals shut down any space the Trojans are trying to create. Thomas with a beautiful flick onto Kohler. That's that vision from Thomas. And now we'll go all the way around the horn. Here's Montoya on the right-hand side. She was trying to get that cross off, but it was read well once again from Colbert in that left back position, who's been busy this game for the Trojans.
And that's the thing, one of the keys to success for USC thus far in this season. They've had nearly 64% of the time they've had possession so far coming into this weekend ahead of this Thursday and Sunday matchup for them. So having to play defense a little bit more because of how aggressive Stanford is, that's going to be an adjustment for them.
Taking the corner is Ike. She'll take it with the right. It'll be an out swinger. She put it in a dangerous position on that back post last time. Front post this time, trying to head it on, is number 5, Harvey. Shea Harvey playing that key holding center midfield role for the Stanford Cardinal. And now Trojans trying to mount a counterattack, but Miyabuta, goal scorer for the Cardinal, reads it all the way. And here come the Cardinal. And this exactly what you're seeing right here is what Stanford are so good at. They could have just gone on the counterattack, but they instead decide, okay, let's play it backwards, let's keep the ball, and let's work it up the field how we want. And that can be gutting for any defense, especially in this heat. Read well there, but Craig having to use some foot skills of her own, and Ike with a nice turn. Montoya trying to keep it in, and it'll be USC Trojans ball here in their attacking half.
It's so easy for us to talk about the offense for Stanford, but they're leading the ACC and they're 5th nationally with goals against average. Looking at Haley Craig, that is .167. Their shutout percentage, they've had 5 shutouts out of the 6 games that they've played so far. So their defense also locks it down. That's what makes them the #1 team in the country right now.
Absolutely. You look at their stats, and it's pretty outstanding what they've been able to do. Obviously, just 6 games into the season, but also 6 games into the season, and it's not a long season. Obviously, it can extend to something like 25 games if you make it all the way to the national championship, but usually around 20 games. A little more than a quarter of the way through the season, at least through the regular season, are the Stanford Cardinal, and yet to even start ACC play, which we'll come on to. Cardinal will be kicking off their conference play very soon. Here come the Trojans. That's a good ball out to Jackson. Jackson, and the offside flag goes up. That's a good offside trap from the Cardinal, but that was a good find, and you can see USC starting to get their offensive rhythm down a little bit more here.
Jackson, of course, USC just runs through her veins. I mean, looking at her family history, her grandpa was a football coach, running backs coach, and the offensive coordinator in the late 70s, early 80s. Her brother, wide receiver for USC football. Dad played football and baseball at USC in the 80s. Just, I don't know if there's any other place for her to go.
Head coach Jane Alukonis, who's in her 3rd year, described Simone Jackson as a dynamic, exciting player, difficult to stop, running in behind, and pulls off some turns that sometimes you're not sure where it came from or what you're going to do. But high praise for the left winger out there, number 80, Simone Jackson. And it's been so active, 10 minutes in here. We haven't even gotten to the USC starting lineup, which we'll do now. Simone Jackson, number 80, on the wing. And we'll start there, I suppose. We'll start with those front 3. 80, Jackson was about to take the throw. At that point, number 5, Hayes, and on that right wing is George, number 12. And then in the middle, you've got Sampaio and Alagoa in those 2 attacking central mid positions. Alagoa is the Portuguese player who transferred over from FSU, number 10 on the ball right now. Farmer, number 25 in the middle, holding down that defensive center mid role. And then across the back line, left to right, Colbert, McDougall, Courtnall, and Griffin. 4-4-3 for the Trojans. Here comes Montoya. Kitahara with space, and she'll hold it up. Kitahara wearing a captain's armband alongside Pagador in that left back position. She'll pass it off to Ike, the 3rd captain for the Stanford Cardinal. We already mentioned Elise Evans, but she is at the U20 World Cup in Costa Rica. That'll run through September 22nd, I believe.
Yep, that's correct.
Couldn't remember if it was 12 or 22.
Yeah, I mean, what an opportunity for her, as well as we talked about 2 players for USC. In addition to that, Florian Jorde, Maribel Flores, also getting that opportunity to play in Columbia this summer. I'm sure they're missing their teammates here, but what a great opportunity to get some international experience, more international experience out of their belt.
Here's Jackson on that left wing, and Harrison does a good job to defend that and win the goal kick for Stanford. Jackson was trying to win that first corner kick for USC, but Harrison with a great read, and the senior showing that veteran status right there. Smart play from Harrison in that right back position. I mentioned the senior. USC actually 14 seniors on this team, along with 14 new players. Those new players include 5 transfers this year, some of whom we've already mentioned.
There's a number 8 recruiting class coming in addition to getting that talent out of the transfer portal. So recruiting been a key part to Alaconis, her approach as well in her 3rd season here with USC.
One of those transfers, Gladue in goal, who we already saw make a fantastic save. Gladue transferred from UPenn after that 2023 season. For 2 years, she was all Ivy honorable mention over at UPenn. This year, she's got 2 clean sheets in the 5 games that USC have played, posting a .8 goal against average. And if you're wondering what that means, basically means she's averaging less than a goal a game allowed. 13 saves already can tally one more for that beautiful one she had in the first 5 minutes. Buta with time and space, now trying to slot it through. She had Kohler, not a bad idea there from the goal scorer, but here come the Trojans on the counter. Mia Buta, number 8, said her name so many times already. That was her second goal of the season. She was number 82 on Top Drawer's Top 100 preseason. 5 Cardinal players made that list. She was one of them, and last year she was all Pac-12 13 and all Pac-12 freshman team. That's right, she's just a sophomore, if you can believe.
Hard to imagine.
She has been so key in this midfield for the Stanford Cardinal. She wears number 8, and she plays that number 8 role, box-to-box midfielder. She's everywhere, and she connects the line. She connects her central midfield, and her and Kohler, number 10, the freshman, have developed a really great relationship already in these 6 games.
Well, and that's the chemistry that you hope to have, right? When you bring in great talent and you have existing talent on the team, how are they going to mesh well together? And already a good indication, as you mentioned. But mentioning also the Top Drawer Soccer Top 100, Stanford the only program with 3 players in the top 15. So Ike at 3, Evans at 10, Harvey at 12, in addition to Jung at 72, and of course Buta in the 80s, as you mentioned.
USC with a little bit more possession now. This game seems to have settled down a bit. USC at least having settled into it a little more. And if you're the USC Trojans head coach, Jane Alukonis, that's what you want to see. It's really important, especially earlier on in the season, how you see your team respond, especially when they go down early, and that's a pickoff from Ali Montoya. Montoya, she has options, and she's opting to slow it down. She's picked off in the middle of the field. That's a great play in the middle there. Trojans will not look to counter. Slowing it down a bit in that center midfield position is Alagoa, number 10, but that was, what a read there for number 3, Colbert. The left back, if you can believe it, found herself all the way up in the middle of the field. She's been everywhere today. Trojans and the Cardinal play very similar styles, at least in what their goal is, in how they want to play. And part of what Gladue, the transfer goalkeeper, who's starting in goal for the USC Trojans so far every game this year, has brought, according to their head coach, Jane Alukonis, is that she's so good with her feet. Both of these teams like to go back to their goalkeeper to keep possession. They like to use their center backs to pull the strings and distribute. Looking for a foul there, and nothing is called. Pagador will pick it up. USC still with the ball in their attacking half, and now here comes Kitahara. Buta to Montoya, a little bit too long of a touch, but lucky there. Cutting it inside. Ali Montoya, so good with that cut inside. Finding herself all the way on this right side is Kitahara, but losing it in the box. A little jersey pull, but not enough for a foul. Mentioning how similar these teams play and how they like to use their center backs to really control play, quarterback the team, if you will. It is NFL kickoff Sunday, so can use that term.
Why not? The analogies never end. But you said it too, the similarities in how they play, but can't really overstress the familiarity too. Not only obviously head coach Paul Ratcliffe for Stanford in his 22nd season here on the farm with Stanford. Alukonis in her 3rd season at USC, but she was previously at UCLA for 4 years as an assistant too. So playing against each other for the better part of a decade directly, in addition to some of the bi-coastal familiarity you mentioned with Alagoa coming from Florida State, and now that ACC matchup in and of itself today too.
Soccer world is a small one. And we'll restart here on this right-hand side for the Cardinal. And we just have some sub confusion. USC wanting to make a substitution. It doesn't happen. So it looks like, actually, we had one player step off. And still trying to make her way back onto the field. Trojans playing down a player right now. It looks like that was Colbert, who was limping when she made that big run up the middle. I think she stepped off because of some type of injury. yet to come back on. Stanford hoping to capitalize, headed into the middle and cleared out. And USC now just maybe will do better just to get the ball out of bounds, try to get their player back in. It looks like she's jogging back onto the field. USC back to full strength. We saw Colbert limping after that, but didn't see her exit the field, actually. That evaded my eyes. Were you able to see that, Jenna?
I did not. Moving really quickly up and down the field. Really, both these teams you talked about the aggressiveness, too. Blink and you miss it.
Colbert back on, and she'll take it. Happy to see she's okay. Mentioned the two center backs for both of these teams and how they really are the quarterbacks of this team, especially because both of them like to play such strong possession-oriented soccer. Here's Colbert now on this left wing, pointing, trying to direct traffic. Just too soft of a ball, but picked up well by Sampaio. Sampaio to Alagoa. Alagoa with a shot just wide. Those two play so well together, though. Sampaio, number 22, and Alagoa, number 10. Sampaio, Elena Sampaio, the Brazilian, she likes to be the fulcrum, switch the point of attack, help dictate how the team plays. The Brazilian plays very well with her Portuguese center midfielder, number 10, Alagoa. And now we'll have the substitution here, number 27, Park, coming into that left back position. And it looks like Colbert will push forward, and Jackson will come off for the Trojans.
Park, that number 18 ranked recruit by Top Drawer Soccer coming into this, her freshman season with USC. Out of Yorba Linda, California. A lot of California kids, unsurprisingly, for these two California teams.
Not surprising at all.
15 California kids for this USC team out of 29, so essentially half the team. And then, of course, you mentioned all the international players, 6, 2 from Canada, and then, of course, Brazil, Portugal. In addition to that, Japan and Luxembourg. So quite a mix.
Hayes holding onto the ball up top. She plays that center forward role. She's dispossessed. Emery will switch it over to Pagador. 20 minutes in, Stanford Cardinal in their home red uniforms in the lead 1-0 on a goal from Buta, assisted by Kitahara. Senior Harrison now on the ball. Harvey with a big switch, finding the space there for Kitahara, but just a little too much and well read by the USC Trojans. We mentioned they've been on the road all season, and actually when they do finally go home, they will be playing at the Coliseum, their home field under construction this year, playing their home games elsewhere. What a place to be playing.
Yeah. I mean, Rawlinson, it's a $38 million expansion project. They broke ground back in April earlier this year. It's supposed to be completed in early 2025. So, yes, they're playing at the Coliseum, pretty epic, as well as Dignity Health Sports Park in Carson. So they won't have any non-conference games at home because they have some exciting things in the works.
Dignity Health, if you're wondering why you know that name, that's where the LA Galaxy play their home games. A beautiful soccer stadium. Nice that it's a soccer-specific stadium. Here come the Trojans looking to go on the counter, and it stays in bounds. It's 1v3 now for the Trojans, looking to go all the way left. Colbert was streaking down that left-hand side, and well read there from the Cardinal defense. Here comes Montoya down this right-hand side. She's really adept at cutting it into that left foot. This time she opts to go line, and now she's got some options. A nice move to find some space. Buta with a long cross. She knows she has Kitahara, and when the ball's at her feet, anything can happen. Into the box, still not cleared enough. Here's Kohler. Bouncing ball, Stanford just trying to get a little space for a shot. Trojans doing a good job of closing it down, and that's a dangerous ball. That's a tough hop to take for a goalkeeper, but Gladue handling that well.
And really, it shouldn't come to any surprise to us how early Stanford was able to score in this one. They have actually either scored within the first 5 minutes of the first half or the second half kickoff, 4 out of the last 7 games, but 7 within 10 minutes, 7 goals have come. So something that they're used to doing, but it's like, can they build on that, and can USC answer in the meantime?
Well, that certainly says something about the Cardinal, how they're able to not just put their opponents away, but put them away early. It's almost like just making it harder for them emotionally and not just tactically. Same thing happened at St. Mary's. Kitahara with the goal to give the Cardinal the win versus St. Mary's. That goal coming in the first 15 also. Algoa now looking to dump that ball off. She had Sampaio, and now they'll go back. Farmer at holding center midfielder. Trojans just trying to work it around here, find some space, and they look like they're finding their groove a little more, but still having some difficulty just finding those openings. Every pass looks like it's a little bit hard to connect for the Trojans, and that's down to this Stanford Cardinal press and how organized they are as an 11 on defense. And that'll be a foul in the middle. No question there. Harvey didn't mean to, but she definitely checked Sampaio off the ball and in the back. So it'll be a dangerous position here for USC Trojans free kick. A goal for the USC Trojans here, I think, is to get Elena Sampaio and Maria Alagoa on the ball as much as they can, and they have been having a little trouble finding themselves on the ball. Alagoa having a bit more luck there and finding herself on the ball, but both of them are the most dangerous when they have the ball at their feet. Alagoa to take this free kick. Looks like she'll have options back post, and she floats it into the middle. Dangerous bouncing ball. Well covered there. That was Ella Emery, and that's why they tell you to get goal side. Beautiful positioning there from Ella Emery, the freshman out of San Diego.
Ike able to clear it out, just doing Jasmine Ike things. You said it. Offensively, such a threat, but defensively, man, she knows how to bring it.
Ike is so skilled and so talented in so many ways, and
she's on the Mac Herman Trophy watch list this year, along with Evans, who will return once again, we've said, after the World Cup.
She was number 3 on Top Drawers, Top 100 preseason, first of the 5, as you've mentioned, players from the Stanford Cardinal to make that list. And the reason she's so versatile is because she reads the game so well. Her vision, the fact that she understands how the play is developing and where the play is going before it really even happens itself. That's what makes her so good. And that's also what makes her such a good center back, even though naturally she's a midfielder.
I remember the first match that I actually called covering Stanford women's soccer a couple of years back. She had 4 goals on 5 shots against San Jose State right here at Kagan in the first round of the NCAA. So quite the introduction that I had to being able to cover not only this team and this program, but her specifically as a player in her career.
4 goals on 5 shots is an absurd stat. And that's hard to do even if you're dominant in a rec league soccer, let alone the NCAA tournament. Certainly does say something. Head coach Paul Ratcliffe in his 22nd season at the helm of this program, and a mainstay here in Stanford, California, and so good at recruiting. He's got an eye for talent. Pagador now chasing, and she'll do the safe thing and just put that out of bounds for a throw-in for the USC Trojans.
And you ask a lot of head coaches, you know, what is the key to sustained success? Because it's not just about being excellent for 1 year or 2 years. It's how do you continue that throughout multiple years, different phases of the game, different phases of college athletics. And they point to recruiting a lot. You know, they try to, as difficult as it is with two talented teams like that, out-recruit the roster that they already have, if that's even possible. But they try to do that, and there's a development aspect to it, but there's also just having that great eye, like you said, and bringing in that fantastic talent. Also through the transfer portal, as we mentioned, especially with USC.
That's a good point. Alagoa here to take this corner kick. USC's first of the game, headed out by Ike. Speaking of, USC still on the attack. Courtnall looking for Colbert. That offside flag stays down, but Colbert can't keep it in bounds. And I actually really love this move from Alaconis to push Colbert, number 3, who started in that left back role, push her forward, because she was one of the few who were actually getting forward in those first 10-15 minutes for the Trojans. Substitute here, Sampaio will exit, and number 18, Enos Darian, will enter. Mentioned how Sampaio's the best when she's got the ball at her feet, but she was having trouble just finding that ball. So not a surprise here. The USC Trojans will try something else.
Another freshman, too, getting some opportunities. Did compete with Team USA in the U16 level and back in 2022. Another California kid out of San Diego.
"30 minutes in here to this first half. Talk about recruiting, and both of these programs, of course, historically dominant programs in the world of, you know, NCAA women's soccer. Stanford, a little more so, 3 national championships, 2011, 2017, and 2019. 3 NCAA runners-up, 2009, 2010, and of course last year in 2023. Here come the Cardinal again. Thomas was looking to lay it off to Kohler, but too far. I almost wish that she just would have gone herself there. Cut it right into the middle, but now Trojans carrying in the middle now. That was Darian. She'll pass it off to Colbert. Finding Alagoa in the middle, who goes all the way wide. George now with a long cross and too much on it. That was George, number 12 on that far right wing for the USC Trojans. Faith George, another freshman. 1 goal and 2 assists already on this season. And we'll have some substitutions here for the Cardinal. It looks like Ali Montoya and Thomas will exit. Coming on for Montoya on this right wing is number 25, Samantha Williams. And coming in up top for Thomas is number 24, Marin Wolf. Wolf has started every game for the Cardinal until that St. Mary's game. Made an appearance in every single one, so she's coming off the bench again for the second time in a row this season. Samantha Williams, number 25, a grad student out of Laguna Beach, California, on this right wing. Played in all games, made 1 start. And she checks in here for her first minutes. She's already got an assist on the year. Now Wolf to Williams. Williams working on that right-hand side, and good defense, but a corner 1 for the Cardinal.
Seen the Cardinal typically earn more corners than their opponents this season. It's something we've seen pretty consistently from them as a squad. Just 3 so far in this one compared to the 1 for USC.
Ike again to take it. Corners, you mentioned they out-corner their opponents 38-18, but that 18 for their opponents includes the 13 quarters allowed in just 1 half versus Washington State. That's right, they allowed 13 corners in one half. Still able to get that win versus Washington State. And if you subtract those 13, it's 5 corners allowed across the other 5 games. As compared, of course, to Stanford's 38 over those 6 games that they've played.
That's what we call an outlier.
Absolutely. Buto wins another corner, speaking of.
And they also just, they're plus 81 in terms of shots as well, 117 to 36 coming into this match here today. They just create the opportunities. That's what seems to be really consistent with this Stanford team.
Team stats really tell the story and why they've been winning. Why they're 6 wins, no losses, no draws on the season already. Mind you, those 6 games, 2 of them were at home, 4 of them away. This is their 3rd home game. Here's a ball to the back post, headed down, and USC now bouncing ball, just trying to clear it out, and we'll have a foul called. USC will have a free kick deep in their own half. Stanford refused to take their foot off of the gas. Talk about how dominant this program's been. They've been in the College Cup 10 of the last 16 years. 32 NCAA tournament appearances. The last time Stanford women's soccer did not make the NCAA tournament was 1997. That's a 25-year streak.
Different millennium.
Yeah. They've got 15 Pac-12 conference titles, and they're looking for their first ACC conference title in the first year of ACC play.
They're picked 2nd, and that's behind Florida State, which if you look at, obviously, the end result of last season, could make sense when you're coming into this, but have quickly, as we talked about, sort of that #1 ranking in the country. So it's going to be such an interesting ACC slate coming up.
Stanford trying to go through the middle. Buta was just trying to get that turn off. It was a good idea, but now here come the Trojans. George will opt to hold it up and find Alagoa's feet. Alagoa now, FSU transfer, goes wide. Far side into the box, trying to find Colbert, who's been a threat on that left side all game. USC will keep it. Here's Darian, and she'll win a corner kick. 2nd of the half for the Trojans.
As soon as we started talking about corner kicks, they just started raining in this match.
Starts coming. Trojans, we talk about program history. Trojans, on the other hand, 2-time NCAA championships, 2007 and 2016. They've made the tournament now for 10 years in a row, every year since 2013, but they had a dip. 2011, 12, and 13 were 3 years in a row where they did not make the tournament. And their worst finish coming in 2013 when they finished 11th in their conference in the Pac-12 at the time. Long ball, top of the box.
That was a high point, actually, for the Stanford program, having won the national championship in 2011, as you mentioned earlier. But, yeah, really just at both the national level, these 2 programs are elite, and then even internationally, too. If we look at Paris 2024, the representation between these 2 programs, for example, this summer, in addition to the U20 World Cup we've been talking about as well. Like, both of these programs just have such elite talent.
Absolutely. I mean, Paris Olympics, Stanford's own Naomi Girma in both the Olympics and the World Cup holding down the back line, arguably best player on the U.S. women's national team, senior national team, that is. Some would argue the biggest snub for the most recent Ballon d'Or list that was released. I would agree with those people if that's what they were arguing, for the record.
Girma played every minute in the Olympics for the U.S. on their way to gold. And then, of course, Sophia Smith, she scored 3 goals. Tierna Davidson, who also got bronze in Tokyo as well a few years back. All #1 NWSL picks as well in their draft years. That's pretty insane.
Yeah, and most recently Maya Doms, selected in the first round of the draft, 8th overall to the local NWSL team, Bay FC. Maya Doms actually holds the first ever goal scored for Bay FC, and that's a pretty cool stat to have in the record book there.
Oh, especially as a Stanford alum and so many ties here in the Bay Area.
Well, it all ties
Extra
in.
layers.
What you were saying about it's not just recruiting, it's also development. And it's the 2 of them really combined that have made Stanford what it has been.
And then that does turn into development of the whole person. I think that seems to be a theme as well, really across various sports. The more successful programs are, the more they tend to do a good job at developing the person as a whole. That's academically, that's personally, as well as athletically. And that's something that a lot of people say about head coach Paul Ratcliffe, for example, in his time here. And it does translate to results on the field when you are the winningest coach in men's or women's soccer here at Stanford.
I think some people were concerned about the move to the ACC and would that hurt recruiting for a team like the Stanford Cardinal. But when you phrase it like that, it seems like there's plenty more reasons, even though there's a little more travel, to come to a side like the Stanford Cardinal. And now here's a dangerous ball into the box. That was a gorgeous ball floated there by Darian, and she had Colbert streaking in, but well defended at Harrison. Both Ike and Harrison actually tracking back. Craig out of her line, out of the box to scoop it up.
The same thing for the travel piece with USC going to the Big Ten. I mean, they actually having that construction going on at their home stadium is preparing them for that slate as well, that additional travel. Even though some of the matches they've had, of course, they went to Malibu, not too far away, to play a ranked Pepperdine team, for example, but it's still not playing at home. It's still a little bit different. So if anything, that's preparing them a little bit extra for that aspect of this new conference.
Absolutely. We'll, of course, have plenty of ACC talk as we continue this broadcast. Stanford with one more game after this, and then ACC play kicking off for them. They'll head to Santa Clara next Sunday. They'll have a whole week off after they play Thursday, Sunday here this weekend. Whole week off, then they'll head to Santa Clara and then hop on a plane to North Carolina. ACC play kicks off at Wake Forest on Thursday, September 19th, and then that Sunday, September 22nd, they'll be at North Carolina State. Both of those teams having a little more difficult years last year in 2023. Wake Forest finished 6th in the ACC. 4 wins, 2 losses, 4 draws in conference play, and North Carolina State 2 wins, 5 losses, 3 draws. They finished 11th of then 14 in the ACC, and now USC Trojans. This is a good bout of possession here. You talk about the difference between patience and urgency, though. You have to have patience, but you have to have also urgency, and right now the urgency seems a little lacking from the Trojans. Plenty of patience, but they need to go a little faster in moments like that. And they'll win that throw in. Another substitute. 40th minute. Again, we mentioned there are probably some tired legs on this field. Both teams having played on Thursday, just 2 days off, and it's a hot one here today. Sun beaming down on this field. Another substitution here, jogging off number 3, Colbert, who's been so big for the Trojans. I think we've said her name maybe the most in this half, and entering into the match for the Trojans on that left wing will be number 19, Hana Mizumoto. That'll be a goal kick, Stanford Cardinal.
Still time here, obviously, in the first half, but I think going into the second half, Colbert probably going to be key for this USC team to get something going and try to at least equal on the scoreboard. She, again, we talked about at the top of the broadcast, has scored in the last 2 matches for them. She's a reigning all Pac-12 second team honoree. She's definitely one of the leaders on the team, so I think she'll be a key piece for this team the rest of this match.
Park for the USC with the ball at her feet. She'll try to go backwards, and now Trojans stuck in their own end, picked off. Williams with the cross. That's a shot and a goal. Eleanor Klinger, the freshman. Her 3rd of her Stanford career. Oh, excuse me, her 1st of her Stanford career.
She has opened her account here on the farm. Klinger, wow. The freshman phenoms continue to make an immediate impact here in their first season at Stanford.
Eleanor Klinger, what a shot and what a goal. Freshman from Cleveland, Ohio. She was on Top Drawer Soccer's preseason Best 11 freshman team. And she makes herself known here today with her first ever goal for the Stanford Cardinal. And what a way to do it. Eleanor Klinger having entered the game. We'll keep you updated on other subs as well. Number 21, Joelle Jung, enters the game into the midfield for the Stanford Cardinal. We were so caught up talking about the program, recruiting. Keep you updated on these substitutions. Number 7, Lizzie Boama, enters in that left back role. She comes in for Keely Pagador. Two nothing now, and you have to imagine that the Trojans are now just hoping to get into halftime with that 2-0 scoreline. It's not let it get any worse.
We talked about how Stanford has the ability to start quickly, whether it's the beginning of the first half or the beginning of the second half, and they did that. But adding a little bit of potential insurance here right before halftime certainly bodes well for the momentum.
Jung to Klinger, Wolf. She's trying to help that on to Jung. Finds herself on the ball anyways, and now space here for Williams. Williams cuts it to her left. Small window for her. She's still able to get the shot off, but not the angle she would have wanted there, and Gladue scoops it up for the Trojans.
Her third save so far in this match as well.
This is what it's, oh, go ahead.
Yeah, no, you talked about her experience coming from Penn, too, spending quite a lot of time in the net. She played in 47 games. She started all 47 of them, 90 minutes fully in every game that she played there. So quite the experience she has coming into this, but just totally different too, right? Out here on the West Coast competing, new conference. A lot of adjustments for a lot of different players coming into this season.
Chasing wants the foul. Play on, says the referee. A lot of adjustments, you mentioned it. And this is what the Stanford Cardinal will do. They'll score, and then they won't let up. They'll come right back at you. There is no time to breathe, to take a moment and reset, because they'll make you pay for it. I can't believe it's taken us this long, but if you hear some weird horns in the background, it is Vuvuzela Day here at the farm once again.
More noisemakers being given away here at Kagan.
I thought we outlawed those after the men's game versus DU.
It didn't end as well for the men's team that day, but number 5, Stanford men's soccer, did take the win at number 2, Clemson, recently. Seeing their head coach get in the camera's face after that win. It's on social media. If you haven't seen it, check out Stanford men's soccer Twitter, I would suggest, or X. Very entertaining to see his reaction.
What a win for them. Clemson ended their season last year, and then they go into Clemson to kick off ACC play, and they get the win. A beautiful one as well, 3-2 versus the Tigers. And this concludes the first half here for the women's on the ball. That's where most of their attack gets orchestrated from. Those are their creative players that are going to make things happen in front of the goal, and they haven't been on the ball enough, in my opinion, for the Trojans. And in that central midfield position, both teams are playing with 1 holding and 2 attacking. And what that means is that those 2 attacking players for the Trojans should be relatively free, right? They should be in somewhat of a 2v1 situation. But the Cardinal have been doing a good job of bringing one of their attacking center midfielders back. So for the Trojans, the question then becomes, how do we get those 2 attacking center midfielders on the ball? In my opinion, they're playing too close to each other. They're both kind of hugging the middle of the field. They need to get out wide. They need to find themselves in between lines. They need to float in between the defense and the midfield, either get deeper or get wider. And that's going to cause people like Harvey and Buta, who have been doing a good job of covering those attacking center midfielders, to make decisions.
Kitahara trying to make something happen in the box there, just overshot, wearing the captain's armband. Trying to reset here for Stanford on the near side corner. Overtaking by Colbert for USC. Cleared out by the Trojans, Shea Harvey. Just 2 shots on the day for the Trojans compared to Stanford's 8. A few saves for Gladue in the net. 4 corner kicks for the Cardinal as well to 2 for the Trojans. USC intercepts it. Sampaio. Harrison hits the deck. Harvey tries to make something happen, but pokes out of bounds. Harrison's still on the ground.
Yeah, that was a tough shot there from that Harrison took. No question she's going to be on the ground for a second. Hope she's okay and that she didn't get hit in the head. On the flip side, that was number 22, Sampaio, who created that opportunity. That's exactly what we're talking about. Those attacking center midfielders for the Trojans need to find themselves on the ball. And what happens? She can carry. She's got the time and the space to carry, and she creates an opportunity there for the Trojans. Was it a shot on goal? No, but it was still a dangerous opportunity for them to make something happen. They're making it too easy for Harvey in that defensive center mid for the Cardinal and Buta, who plays that box-to-box midfielder, to defend them. And whether it's not going quick enough so that allows Buta to get back and it eliminates that potential 2v1 that the Trojans would have had against Harvey, or it's just clinging to the middle of the field and not forcing them out of their position to make a decision if they want to follow their defender. If they do, who covers inside, who covers the middle, that space inside. If they don't have anybody tracking back to cover it, potentially can be exploited by USC. So just finding themselves in wider spots, in deeper spots, force the Cardinal to make a tough decision on defense, because right now they haven't, and that'll get them on the ball, and right there is a great example of it.
Nia Harrison walking off the field. Did get some claps from the stands here as she's able to be on her feet, walking with staff. So we're going to have a Trojan throw in here on the near side.
You never like to
Hannah
see that.
Griffin. You don't. But good sign to see her on her feet. USC trying to get something going. That's Colbert. It will trickle out. So a corner kick, number 3 for USC. Here early, just a couple of minutes into the second half. Helena Sampaio will take it, the Brazilian we've talked so much about. All-region honoree last year in 2023. Cleared out of the box by Montoya. Foot race here as USC will recover. There's Colbert. Tries to get it in there, but the ball pushed a little bit wide of that near post.
Colbert switched sides. She was on that left-hand side all first half, and now she's on this right-hand wing. Just staying closer to the cameras, I guess. But, again, causing issues for the Stanford Cardinal defense, and it's because she's moving between lines.
4th corner kick of the day, now even with Stanford, so just like that, 4 apiece here in this match. Sampaio will take it once again.
Stoppage of time. It looks like the referee's gonna take a look at it.
Yeah.
The previous play is under review.
Taking some video review time here. Clock has stopped at 47 minutes, 40 seconds.
That's a good start to the half for the USC Trojans. We were wondering how they were going to come out in this second half, and they've come out exactly how they should, on the front foot. They're not going to sit back and let Stanford just take control of this game, because it could be a long 45 minutes if they let Stanford take control of these first 5 of this second half. And Trojans now with their potentially second corner in the first 3 minutes here. That's, I think, what they're taking a look at. But better from the Trojans.
And just creating more opportunity. Again, coming into this weekend, they had outshot their opponents 61-27. They continued that trend at USF, 10-6. Now adding a couple of shots, or 1 shot so far in this one, and a couple of corner kicks, setting themselves up for opportunity more. Call in the field stands after review, so the corner kick will continue, and it's Sampaio. Into the box, headed away by Stanford. Sampaio still on the near side in the corner. Cardinal defense stepping up here. That ball trickles out of bounds, but nicely done by Jaden Thomas.
That's the center forward there, all the way back on defense, of course, because of the corner kick. But that's good defense from your center forward.
Talked about Jaden Thomas getting the start. Back-to-back matches here for Stanford. A loaded team in terms of talent. And Brooklyn Courtnall. Long. Ike trying to clear it out. Trojans appear to have a bit more energy once again coming into the second half. There's Colbert. And it's going to trickle in. The Trojans are on the board. An own goal, it appears, potentially.
Yeah, I understand why the Cardinal are upset right now. Technically, that's an own goal from Ike, but it came off of her. And the reason she's upset is because, and they're going to take a look at it, as they should, yep. Because if you saw what happened there, it came off of Ike, but she was trying to get her body around the ball to clear it off the line. And as she did, she was essentially tackled by a USC Trojan.
Right.
Obviously, assuming not intentionally, just bodies and momentum flying forward, and the momentum took out Ike as she was trying to clear it off the line. And we'll see what happens here if they have a clear enough view of that to pull it back.
Stoppage again, almost exactly a minute later, 48-41 here.
That's a quick review there.
A quick review, and it looks like the goal will stand. So a 2-1 game as USC starting to chip away here in the second half.
Jane Alukonis in that yellow hat on the sideline, head coach, fired up after that call.
So the Cardinal with the argument of the own goal. But it swings USC's way. A little bit of momentum for the Trojans here quickly in the second half. They're within one, and Ike on the far side.
You can see the energy still from head coach Alukonis. She's just trying to inject that into her team. She certainly did so during halftime because they've come out stronger. That's disappointing if you're the Stanford Cardinal for, of course, many reasons, but you can hear them on the field now. Suddenly, a one-goal game, and there's a lot of energy and a lot of emotion flying around this pitch.
Of course, the goal really to win the match, period. At the same time, 5 out of the 6 matches so far this season for Stanford, they had shut them out. Oof, dangerous there right in front of the net.
And we're starting to see how dangerous this USC attack can be.
We talked about they also had just about 64% of possession in their matches leading up to this weekend too. They really gave more of it over to Stanford in the first half, but we're seeing that aggressiveness come in as the corner is in play, headed by Stanford. Trying to set it up again. Griffin, wide.
Well, teams are just they're not going to just go away when they face Stanford, maybe even more so when they face the Cardinal. They're going to give them their best game, and that's what the Cardinal are getting from USC right now. But this is a USC offense that has not been shut out. Of course, 4 wins and a draw. On that draw, they scored 2 goals. There's been just one game where they scored only 1, and otherwise they've scored multiple goals in every single game they've played this season. This offense can put the ball in the back of the net, and we're seeing it start to come together now for the Trojans.
Cardinal, Kitahara pushing forward, stripped, whistle blown as Sampaio attempted to take control and a free kick for the Cardinal. It's a USC team we've talked about the ACC quite a bit, but the Big Ten slate coming up for them as well, as Kitahara just outside the box, crosses in, just past, just above the net.
Oh, how did that not go in? Ali Montoya also had that rebound on the back post, and she just leaned back a little too much. She'll want that one back. That's good from the Cardinal, who've really been on their heels and on defense for the first 5. Mounting an attack of their own.
Far side for the Trojans. Colbert works it back. Hannah Griffin. Back to Colbert on the near side. Crosses in. Dangerous once again. Top of the box here. Cleared out by the Cardinal. Wow. The energy has certainly shifted a bit here in Kagan Stadium. There's Colbert on the near side. Just over the top.
What an opportunity from Colbert, and USC arguing that that was a deflection and it should be a corner kick, but goal kick is called here. Colbert, we've mentioned her name so much, and that angle was not an easy one, and yet somehow she still almost sneaks it in under that crossbar. But these are the dangerous minutes for the Cardinal. They have to just quell this energy, quell this attack from the Trojans, and not get worried themselves, not get frantic themselves. They've got the experience on the field to do so.
When you're used to being the one to kind of create chaos for the other team, always an adjustment to kind of flip that switch. Trojans on the far side. Some contact.
Ball falls to the Trojans in the box.
In the box for the Trojans.
Now Darian working as a
Hit and deflected out. Another corner kick for USC. They've now surpassed Stanford. They've had 4 corner kicks already here in the second half. We're less than 10 minutes in.
Yeah, we might be in store for another Washington State type. I don't think we'll hit 13 corners in the half for USC, but you never know.
In, headed, trickling away, Jackson.
Over the back of the box, and now
In the near side corner.
Jackson working the near corner. Jackson unable to get through.
Harvey trying to clear it out.
Kick forward by Montoya.
The Trojans will reset here.
Colbert pulled up a little bit on that one, like she's been hurt, like she got hurt limping. She came off in the first half after she was limping.
Moving a little slowly, yeah, that's right.
Seems to be okay here on this side, walking it off.
Stanford will throw it in on the far side.
Speaking of, it looks like Harrison has rejoined the Stanford bench over there. She headed back into the locker room after she got injured at the beginning of this half. She's back on the bench, so that's always a good sign to see.
Good to see her back in the fray. By the way, Lizzie Boalma on the field for Stanford.
For Darian, who's dispossessed and has it knocked out for
Darian. And it'll be a USC throw-in. 10 minutes in here in the second half. It's somehow it feels longer with how much has already transpired.
It's been a lot of action in this first 10, that is for sure. And it's been a lot of action for the Trojans offense.
There's Montoya on the midfield for USC. Harvey passes it along. There's Buddha. Trojans will regain control. Courtnall setting it up. Defense from Kohler. Once again, off the foot, out of bounds. Talked about Kohler and Klinger really being some great young talent for this Stanford team. 2 freshmen that have gotten a ton of time on the pitch so far in their careers. Kohler with 3 goals. Or 2, actually. My bad. She has 2 so far this season.
I
She'd love a
confused you.
third.
I
She'd love a
con-
third.
I confused you on that.
Klinger with her first, though, of her entire career back in the 42nd minute.
Oh, what a goal it was, too. Such a good read from her. And right now, that one's considered the game winner from the freshman.
McDougal. McDougal along with Gladue, the 2 players coming into this one that have played every single minute for USC so far this season. Intercepted by the Cardinal. Advanced. Chasing is Courtnall. There's Kitahara. Wearing that captain's armband, as you mentioned earlier. Out of the far side. USC a little bit more in control here so far in the second half than we saw in the first. Boama in the corner. Trickles out of play.
Yeah, this is how they like to play, and they seem to be trying to exploit. Oh, they'll go quickly here.
Quickly, just past Colbert. Trying to connect. She'll cross it into the box off of Boama. And Ike, and then Craig takes control.
I mentioned at the start, how can USC start to exploit the space more for the Cardinal? And it seems like instead of trying to get their attacking center mids on the ball wider, like I mentioned, they've just said, let's go wide. Let's use the space and let's use our wingers wide. And that's where they've been really successful so far down that left and right-hand side, getting those crosses in and putting it in dangerous areas in the box. But I'll also add in that number 6, Morrissi, has checked into the game at the start of this half. She's in that defensive center mid role, number 6 role, if you will, and she's been covering ground defensively in a way it seems like maybe Farmer's legs were just a little heavy, and Morrissi's been covering ground very well defensively so far this half. There she is now stepping up on Kohler.
A freshman out of Seattle, Washington, went to Lakeside School. On the far side now, there's Montoya for the Cardinal. And it's overhead. Kitahara trying to make something happen, but does trickle out of play. When it comes to a conference slate for USC in the Big Ten, they're picked 5th. 3 players listed as players to watch in the conference, Colbert being one of them. Maribel Flores, who's one of the players at the World Cup for the U20 in Colombia, and then Brooklyn Courtnall as well, making that preseason list.
Interesting substitution here. We just talked about Morrissi and how well she'd be doing in that defensive center mid position. She exits for number 10, Alagoa, who took a break and now comes back in, and that actually pushes Darien, number 18, back into that holding mid position, so Sampaio and Alagoa can play right above her.
Buda to Montoya. Montoya on the far side, on the right side. Crosses in. Attempted and just missed wide.
Oh, that's great work by Montoya. Defender on, and she's able to cut it back just to get enough space to get that cross off, and we've seen Stanford score on plays just like that, especially with number 20, Kitahara, goal scorer extraordinaire, streaking into that back post.
Just over 60 minutes into this one. First 15 of the second half have been interesting. That is dribbling out of play. Looking at the schedule for USC, they'll have 11 Big Ten opponents. UW, familiar foe from their Pac-12 days, being their first on September 12th. That's actually going to be the first ever Big Ten event for USC as a whole as an athletic department, will be that match. They'll also play Minnesota at quote-unquote home. We talked about how they'll be playing in Carson where the Galaxy plays, as well as the Coliseum, but they'll play Minnesota on the 26th. And then, of course, they'll host UCLA at the Coliseum on October 27th. So that rivalry is still going strong.
Nice to see that rivalry remaining within a conference, and of course the Cardinal-Cal Bear rivalry remaining within a conference. Got to keep those rivalries intact.
Of course, UCLA won the Pac-12 a year ago. Stanford finished second. USC finished third. Back in 2023, all conference honorees, 10 apiece for these two squads. Jasmine Ike, midfielder of the year. Ryan Campbell was goalkeeper of the year. Kita Hata, of course, making the second team along with Evans, with Doms and Wesley on the first team for Stanford. Buddha and Harvey on the third team and the freshman team, and Grillion and Jung also making the freshman team. There's Kohler. Over to Montoya. Kohler again. Gets the shot off, but right at Gladue.
Cheeky outside of the right foot there from Kohler. Not a bad idea. That's all she had time for. In terms of possession, though, Stanford having been so dominant in that first half, they're playing a bit of a counterattack game now in this second half.
Off of Boama. Captain Pagador will try to take control here. She works back to Ike. Intercepted by the Trojans. Far side over to Faith George. Just outside. Scooped up by Craig. And to finish the thought as well, in the Pac-12 All-Conference Awards last year, Awujo Duran first team for USC, Jackson, Burns, Colbert, Sampaio second team. Flores, again, who's at the World Cup, freshman of the year in the conference, as well as the third team in the freshman team. Courtnall making the third team, and Gonzalez, the freshman team as well. So, again, when we talk about how loaded these two squads are, that trickles into this season as well.
Absolutely. You look down the roster list, and it's just a who's who and a what's what of conference awards, international experience, and so on and so forth. Certainly some of the future of United States soccer on this field here.
Absolutely. There's Montoya. Dispossessed, but recovered. Montoya looking for Kita Hata on the near side. Kita Hata, the team leader in goals. Shot! Deflected off the top! Rebounded and deflected once again. Wow.
Oh, you see why Kita Hata has so many goals on the season. It's because you can put a scissor move like that and immediately get that kind of a shot off. More often than not, it'll go in. I think Gladue got just her fingers on that to
look like it. Yep.
Tap it, let it hit the crossbar. And we almost had one on the rebound also for the Cardinal there. Slowly but surely. You can only keep the Cardinal offense quiet for so long.
Boama throws it in. There's Wolf. Goes back out to her. That is high and long. Just over. And we talked about Kita Hata, 5 straight matches she has scored in a row, the last 5. 5 out of 6 that Stanford has played so far. They're one of just 10 teams with a perfect 1,000 win percentage.
It's getting harder and harder to keep that 1,000 win percentage.
Certainly. Virginia also in the ACC, one of those 10 programs. Still early, but still impressive when you look at the level of talent that these teams have on their slate.
You mentioned Kita Hata has scored in 5 straight games. She's the first to do it for the Stanford Cardinals since none other than Catarina Macario did it in 2019.
She did 6 in a row. Kita Hata could tie that should she make something happen here in the last 25 minutes. Make it 24. For now, just past 66 minutes.
In for USC, number 17, Izzy Kimberly.
Coming in for USC, Izzy Kimberly. Colbert will exit.
I'm sure the Cardinal are happy to see Colbert take a break there.
There's Griffin.
Started.
Darian.
Ball flicked into the box. Poked out by
At the top of the box here.
now the newly introduced Kimberly.
Deflected off Buddha.
Blocked by Buddha. Rebounds out. And the
Trojans will try to reset here in the midfield.
great job of not out.
Some pressure from Marin Wolf. Courtnall searching to the far side. Into the box.
Kimberly attempting into the box, bounces off a couple of heads. Now out falls to USC, but
Shea Harvey in the mix, along with Joel Jung. Cleared out again. An opportunity for the Trojans to be a little bit more strategic here as they've had more possession, to your point, Sarah. Less on the defensive.
dumps it out wide to the
There's Faith George.
now the ball
Into the box, off the head.
Alagoa. Headed back out where Alagoa recovers, this time
Alagoa
closer to midfield. Dumped into the near side
into the box.
where it's put in,
Handled by none other than Jasmine Ike.
knocked out of bounds for a USC throw-in by Ike.
And for USC, number 80, Simone.
You mentioned
Jackson.
possession, and possession really only matters if you can turn it into chances, right? And the Trojans have actually been doing just that. The first half, Stanford outshot USC 8 shots to 2. And in this half, relatively even on shots. Stanford's still getting plenty off. It's 6-4 in favor of Stanford, but those 4 have been monumental for the Trojans.
Free kick for Alagoa.
A free kick here for Alagoa.
Halfway between the box and the near sideline. Two-man wall for the
Jung and Kitahara forming the wall.
as the Trojan runners will set up on the far side of the box.
Trojans mostly on the far side here. Crosses in,
Headed away,
headed by Ike.
Ike,
Marin Wolf.
and the ball recovered by the Trojans.
Trojans recover, dangerous, and stopped by Craig.
Well, that was almost another own goal. It was good work in the box. You see how adept she is with the ball at her feet. That was Sampaio, number 22, cutting her way, slicing and dicing in the box. And she took the shot, and Craig, luckily, didn't react immediately because Lizzie Boima came sliding in, and it deflected off of Boima. Craig had to react quickly, slide the other direction. It was almost another one there for the Cardinal. Good reflexes from Haley Craig in goal.
Save on the day for her.
An errant pass is recovered by
And by the way, after that review earlier, Simone Jackson credited with the goal for USC.
Pagador.
Of course, as mentioned, Stanford trying to make that argument that it was an own goal situation.
Finally passed up where
But Jackson registers.
now Wolf.
And here's Marin Wolf.
I'm happy to hear that. She created a lot of the opportunity, and you never like to see an own goal tallied, especially against somebody like Ike, who's done amazing things in that back line. It would have been pretty sad to see that tallied against her.
Ryan was looking to take it quickly. Hesitates a couple times
Gladu
and eventually passes it short.
going short here as USC once again trying to set things up.
Hard back to McDougall. And Jackson reintroduced passes it up to Kimberly. Now
There's Alagoa.
field switches it to the near side.
Out to George
George
on the near side. Pagador right there. Harvey right next to her. Alagoa looking for something.
space. Tries to through ball to
Trying to find George here on the near side.
finds it and
Blocked out by Pagador.
knocks it back off of Pagador out for yet another
71 minutes in. 14 shots on the day for Stanford now.
despite
double the amount that we have seen from USC with 7. But again, the efficiency for USC.
The efficiency, and you look at second half shots specifically, and it's only 6-5, a very small difference.
That ball punched away by Craig.
Great point.
Was able to get up, and before the ball was recovered by Sampaio, who passes it back.
Working it back to Courtnall. It goes to Alagoa once again.
Now the ball on the
Cross into the box. Just passed.
the outstretched foot of Kimberly.
Trying to look for Kimberly.
Thankfully, Craig was in position. Should it
Trojan's not done yet. Still just outside the box. Kitahara trying to clear it out to find Wolf, but intercepted by Courtnall. Long and lifting is Craig. Her second save of the day.
That was a nice step in from the center back, Courtnall, who started all of that. And Stanford now seemingly looking for some answers here on defense.
ball out wide to Boma, who just kicks it back up, where it's easily recovered by
USC works it back.
ball now out wide to Dada.
Contact with Jung
Foul by Young.
and Courtnall. Foul called.
Not a
Free kick
bad
here.
foul there from Joel Jung. You could see Stanford's lines were so spread out. There was so much space in this midfield for USC to play with, and Jung just came in with energy. And whether that was intentional or not, it's not a bad foul. Let your team get back in their shape, keep their formation, and just reset.
Wing, instead headed away by Pagador. And the ball will go out for a Trojan throw.
Trojans will throw in here. Griffin looking for an opening.
Looking for help on the throw in.
She goes to George.
George.
Feeds it to Alagoa.
It off to Alagoa.
Jung all over it. Pagador helps her out. Knocked out of play.
Is dispossessed. And it'll be a Stanford throw.
Hit for Stanford. Number 11, Eleanor Klinger.
Eleanor Klinger coming back in for the Cardinal. Had that second goal of this match, as well as her first in her career here at Stanford for the freshman. Back in the 42nd minute.
The throw in by Pagador is
It was a freshman to freshman goal. Freshman Samantha Williams had the assist on that one. Her second assist as a Cardinal, and then Klinger with her first goal ever as a Stanford Cardinal. Love to see it. Freshmen making impacts all over the place on the field here for the Cardinal.
Love to see it. And then some of the returners, Buddha with that first goal, Kitahara Pagador helping her out with that one. Nice little mix there of the upperclassmen and underclassmen making an impact. On the far side now for the Cardinal.
ball to Wolf is just a little slow.
McDougal for USC.
Passes
There's Jung in the middle.
now Young,
Trying to make something happen to Kitahara.
unable to keep possession. Now pokes it away.
Foot race. Cleared out by USC.
And for
Nice
Stanford,
job.
Number 33, Lumi
By Hannah Griffin there. And Lumi Kostmeyer will come in for the Cardinal. Some applause here at Kagan. Kostmeyer out of Southbury, Connecticut, a junior.
Yeah, her third appearance for the Cardinal this season. And I love this move from Paul Ratcliffe. Right now, what the Cardinal need is a center forward that's going to hold the ball up. They're playing a little too much counterattack more than they want to. And so what they need up top in that center forward position is somebody who can get on the ball and hold it and wait for the rest of the team to join her on the attack. And that's the style of play Kostmeyer does.
As a freshman back in 2022, she led the team with 10 goals. First in the Pac-12 at the time among all freshmen. Had 3 game winners as well, so since the get-go, certainly somebody who can bring the energy. Just about through 76 minutes here. Some stoppage.
Looks like,
We all got to tie our shoe every now and again.
yeah, we just had some laces come undone.
Quarter game, Stanford Stanford, number 12, Jasmine Aiken.
If you can believe it, this is Stanford's first corner of the second half.
Their 5th in total. There's Ike. In the air. Headed out. Cleared out by the Trojans.
And
What do
that
you-
back post, Emery and Buta were both rising, and neither of them could really get a clean look on it.
What do you make of USC's defense in this second half?
I think that their defense has really, quite honestly, been created by the fact that their offense has been able to stay on the ball. When you're on the ball for so long, you start to pull the other team out of shape. And obviously every team has a different defensive shape and a different offensive shape. When you're on defense, you want to be tight, you want to be more central, you want to kind of give up those wings. But then when you're on offense, you want to spread out completely. And this defense for the USC Trojans has, I think, been so great because they've pulled the Stanford Cardinal so far out of position that when the Cardinal then take over the ball and try to make something happen, they're not where they want to be. It's easier for the Trojans to shut it down.
Oof, dangerous moment there. 2 Trojans on the ground after that defensive play.
The clock is stopped at 77.
Stoppage here at just over 77 minutes. Gladue. Some teammates trying to check on them.
Immediate motion for the athletic trainer is never good, and especially when it's a collision, you can only assume there's potential head injuries in there, both of them actually grabbing their head. So hopefully they'll just take their time with their athletic trainer. Good moment for both teams. Head to the bench, get some water, and just reset.
One player has at least sat up while being evaluated by staff, referee, accompanying the other. And obviously you hope there's not something more serious like a concussion or head injury. But at minimum, even getting your bell rung, as they say, is not really a fun experience.
Absolutely not, especially not in a soccer game when you have to go out there and head the ball.
That's Katie Park. Now on her feet, rising slowly. Now both, as applause from the stands. They both seem to be okay, at least up and moving around.
It looks like Park is going to stay in.
It appears she will. And it looks like I'm trying to...
I think that's Brooklyn Courtnall,
I
center
think it is
back.
Courtnall, yes. Trying to confirm who is walking off the pitch with the medical staff. So a bit of a scary moment. A great defensive play at the same time. Potentially saving a 2-goal lead from Stanford, who will take the corner. Ike. In. Headed away by USC. And cleared out once again. Chasing is Blama, who works it back to Craig.
Courtnall back on the field now for the Trojans. And now she's holding her shoulder and immediately goes to the ground. I think she'll take herself off now for a sub. Good news is she wasn't holding her head. It was her shoulder that seemed to be bothering her, but
Yes.
she'll step off.
Aaliyah Farmer will come in for her. Senior out of Tustin, California.
Farmer started this game in that defensive center mid position. We haven't seen her this half, though. So she slots into that center back role, versatile player.
Buddha for the Cardinal. Trying to find Kita Hata. And Pagador now. Working it over to Ike. Far side to Klinger. Whistle is blown, a foul. Yellow card, it appears, for the Trojans. Not too happy about it. Colbert, she's a bit fired up there.
Kayla Coleman.
A dangerous position now for the Stanford Cardinal. Nice to see Eleanor Klinger pop right back up from that.
Yep. Free kick. Klinger appears to be okay. Referee checking up on her.
Crowd now gets loud here.
And Ike will
Cardinal looking for their first
take it.
second half, the third of the game.
Stanford still scoreless in the second half so far.
Ball. 6 in the box for the Cardinal.
Ike
The ball in.
softly
Top of the 6.
headed out of play. Opportunities. The Cardinal have had some, certainly. Have not been able to capitalize as of yet this half.
Yeah, what they have been able to do, though, is kind of stunt the momentum of USC. It's now felt like it's been a while that Stanford have kept the ball in their attacking half. Certainly just kind of quelling that energy that USC's had for this entire half.
You know, we've talked about the dominance overall and the all-time meetings between these two squads. 20 wins for Stanford to 7 losses and 5 draws. The last 4, Trojans have been unbeaten. You mentioned that earlier. The last win that they did have was back in 2021 in overtime, 3-2. Last 3 games have been in LA, and the last time at Stanford was a draw in the COVID year. So recent years, maybe leaning a little bit more toward USC, although Stanford pretty dominant when it comes to playing at home here in Kagan. 115, 5-9 since 2014. That is a .926 winning percentage, and they're undefeated in 31 straight since October 2021. 6 of the last 10 seasons they've been unbeaten at home as well. It is not an easy place to play if you're a visiting team.
Now, I just want to underline something that what you just said. That was 5 losses since 2014. They've only lost 5 games at home since 2014.
When you let that settle in, it is pretty remarkable. They're also just undefeated overall, Stanford is, in 42 of their last 43 matches. The only loss last year was that national championship game against Florida State. They've shut out 25 of the last 39 matches. Obviously not going to happen today with USC on the board. But the Trojans still in this one with a little less than 10 minutes remaining. A lot of credit to the Trojans, too, for putting Stanford on their schedule. 7 of their 17 opponents on their schedule coming into 2024 were in the NCAA tournament last year in 2023. Of course, some of those, some Big Ten opponents, and then that includes Penn State, who made it to the Elite 8. Corner kick for Ike. In. Deflected by Gladue. She will punch it out.
What a punch that was. Obviously, we're going to have a foul called here,
Yeah.
but Gladue, all you could see is just a fist sticking up in the air, and it looked like she just punched that ball essentially off of the line.
That's right. Shea Harvey for the Cardinal to Jung. Trying to find Kosmeyer. There's Kosmeyer. Sliding and wide.
I mentioned the loss to FSU last year in the national championship. Obviously, they're members of the ACC, but Stanford will not get a chance at redemption in the regular season.
That's right.
They'll have to wait for potentially a tournament face-off. Of course, there's so many teams in the ACC, you just can't play all of them in one season.
That's right.
17 total teams this year in the ACC.
7 of them ranked nationally, too, obviously including Stanford, but unbelievable. UNC number 2, FSU now number 3, Virginia 4, Notre Dame 9. All of those, 5 out of the top 10.
Yeah. And 5 ACC teams made the tournament last year, including, of course, FSU, who won, Clemson Tigers, Notre Dame, UNC, and Pitt.
And then also rounding that out, Virginia Tech 21, Clemson 25. Wake Forest also receiving votes.
Ike holding her knee.
Ike
A
on the
nasty
ground.
collision over there with number 10 Alagoa of USC, and
That left
stadium
knee.
is eerily silent right now. This is not what you want to see.
No, it's not. Did stand up fairly quickly with help from Craig. A good sign. Walking a bit slowly, but appears to be okay. You never like to see someone grab a body part immediately. It's usually not a good sign, but
Especially when
Ike.
it's a knee.
yeah, tough as nails. That's right. Just about 7 minutes left here. Still sitting at 2-1. Cardinal with the advantage. They have not scored since the 42nd minute. Trojans on the far side. Punched over by Craig. What a play.
5 clean sheets in 6 games is not an accident, and we're seeing exactly why, part of the reason why Stanford have been able to keep clean sheets in 5 of 6 games, and it's Haley Craig in goal. Starter for a regular starter, I'll say, for the first time this season.
Yeah, I mean, coming off of Ryan Campbell being the goalkeeper of the year in the Pac-12 last year, punches it out again. Dangerous off the corner, but the Cardinal standing strong thanks to Haley Craig.
That was Farmer on the header for USC, and she was unmarked, completely unmarked. That's unacceptable if you're the Stanford Cardinal defense, leaving her unmarked in the middle.
Pagador trying to clear it out here, finding Kosmeyer.
It's a good
Will go
hold
to
up play.
Jung. Pushes it out to the midfield. Haley Craig, obviously on the College Cup team last year, 2022 Pac-12 championship team. But just played in 6 games last year, starting 2 matches because, again, Ryan Campbell. But getting to work here today is the defense for Stanford stepping up there, going up against Jackson. Kitahara. Just past Kosmeyer. Handled by the Trojans. McDougal searching. Gonna go past Boama as she clears it out of play. Some dangerous moments as we trickle down to the last 5 minutes.
I think that's a matchup that USC are trying to exploit over there. It's Colbert on that left wing for USC, and that's Boama, number 7, in on that right back for the Cardinal. Those two facing up against each other. Boama, a freshman who came in for the injured Harrison. Harrison had that side pretty much on lockdown, although Colbert was, causing some trouble in that first half, but nothing like what she's doing right now, and I think that the Trojans are really trying to exploit that side once again. There you go.
There it is. Harvey heads it. Kitahara going to Pagador. Pagador will find Kosmeyer to Jung. Back at it. She'll find Klinger on the far side.
That's
The freshman making progress, and she'll hit the deck. Foul is called. That is Courtnall back in, by the way.
Kosmeyer, number 33, up top for the Cardinals. She's making it look easy because she's so calm on the ball, but what she's doing is very difficult. That hold-up play, she gets the ball at her feet. She either plays it backwards or she lays it off to the side. That's what she's in here to do, to help Stanford keep the ball, and it's not as easy as she's making it look.
Free kick being taken by Ike. In the box, but just rolling past. Buddha, foot race here. Taking control is USC.
Oh, what a touch that was from Hayes.
There's Hayes. Ike just off the top of the foot, the shot, and it's in.
The offside flag goes up.
Offside flag. Could it be the equalizer?
Question is if they're going to take a look at this. The offside flag went up. The ref called it back. And now the question, yeah, is he going to look at it? And he is.
They will take a look.
Previous play is under review.
Wow, what a pivotal moment here.
And that all started with Hayes and that beautiful touch onto herself and then just finding space and dribbling at it. Wreaking havoc on that right side for the Stanford Cardinal.
Hayes at the top, leading this USC team in terms of points as well. A few goals on the year herself. What a time it would be for her to come alive should this stand. Well, really the call on the pitch actually offside. So depending on this review, should they overturn it, with just 3 minutes remaining.
Yeah. Well, we said that USC know how to play the Stanford Cardinal really tough, and there's a reason there were some draws in those recent matchups. And it's funny, it looks like the subs for the Cardinal trying to get a little peek on the monitor along with the referee, and they're ushered away.
Understandable. They got a lot invested into this, I'd say. Double-digit shots, though, for USC. With that to 17 for Stanford.
This might be a case of can you conclusively overturn?
Right.
And
it needs to be very clear. That's why the original call is so important.
Exactly. Once again, though, USC looking to exploit that right back position of the Stanford Cardinal, and now it looks like it's going to be called a goal. We're waiting for the official call, but oh, never mind.
Offside is held up. Cardinal players are pretty fired up now, knowing that they maintain that 2-1 lead. That's heartbreaking for the Trojans.
Ike shouting directions, telling everybody to get up the field, and she's just going to get that as far away from her goal as possible. What a call. What a turn of events here.
Trojans still a few minutes to work with here. And there's Jackson.
Jackson now pushing it into the box.
Blocked out by Pagador. Jung with her in the corner.
It goes out for a
What does that do momentum-wise mentally so late in the game?
Oh, I actually don't think that it changes too much. I think that, Stanford's going to feel relief and lucky, and it's going to inject some energy into them. And USC is going to be hard done by and perhaps just use that energy to try to get one back that they feel they should have had. That's good work in a tight space from the Cardinal.
Yeah, Kita Ada nicely done on the near side there. Buddha now on the far side.
goes to the far sideline.
Cardinal with the upper hand as Kosmeyer now. 2 minutes remaining. Klinger to Buddha. Past Kosmeyer there. And it will trickle out.
I'll be curious to see if the Cardinal switch formations to some degree, potentially pull somebody back into a 5-back. What they're going to do, it looks like they won't. They'll stay in that 4-3-3. There was a substitution on that right back position.
Plays their long goal kick forward. And now Ike clears. Covered by Stanford. Griffin pushes it forward.
Back and forth in the midfield here.
Midfield is Hayes.
Working back to McDougal.
And now Klinger
Intercepted by Klinger. The freshman trying to make forward progress, but stopped.
She had her fellow freshman in Thomas on that line, and she just waited maybe half a second too long to try to touch her the ball, and If she'd gotten it there, Thomas would have been in space.
Just about a minute left.
Trying to milk as much clock as they can. The throw-in comes with
Stanford trying to take their time.
Second half.
Some contact there with Klinger and McDougal.
fighting for the ball.
Throw in for USC.
For the USC throw. USC with 50 seconds left to equalize. Pushes forward.
Just about 45 seconds remaining.
But a great job by
There's Pagador and Harvey who clears it out.
Good 1v1 work from Pagador against Jackson. Captain keeping her cool, able to win that for the Cardinal.
Trojans running out of time, less than 30 seconds. Cardinal trying to maintain control. There's Kitahara. Will she put it away? And it sails high.
Now she
Close
almost
moment.
finished it there.
10 remaining seconds.
7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
And that is going to do it. Time has elapsed. The Stanford Cardinal pull off the victory. The two